Pennywise the clown was a bad bitch. Okay? Hello. We are two sisters who love horror movies, horror books, scary stories, and sleepless nights. Welcome to Midnight Meetings.
Hello.
Okay, so today we're actually going to talk about a movie that I believe made us. We're going to be talking about the mini TV series It that came out in 1990, based off of Stephen King's novel that was published in 1986. Um, so the story is set in Derry, Maine, in like I wouldn't even consider it a small town. It's pretty big when you look at it at scale. Um, where these seven kids, Bill, Beverly, Ben, Richie, Eddie, Stan, and Mike, have to fight this shape-shifting entity that likes to that mostly presents itself as a clown. Um, the story spans from their like preteens till they're adults because they first meet it when they're kids, and then they basically fight the creature. They think they killed it, but then they make a pact with each other saying, "Hey, if it ends up coming back, like promise that we're all gonna come back and finish it off." And so, 30 years later, they have to come back to this town to deal with this monster. And a little history is that I'm not sure if you remember, Soren, but we sat down and watched this movie like as a family. And I think you were 5 or 6. Oh, no, no, no. I think Evan was 5 or 6 and you were a little older.
I'm
And
7.
we were at like, I don't remember where we were. We were at some supermarket shopping and Evan saw this movie cover, and it was, Tim Curry, the clown on the cover with like an alien hand, and there was like a rip. And he thought it was so cool and was just like, "Oh my God, can we get this movie? Can we get this movie?" And like, our parents bought the movie. And we sat down. I don't remember if we had popcorn, but I know we all sat down in the living room and put this movie on to watch together. And like within like like the first 10 minutes, we were all like, "Oh no, what did we just do? What are we watching?" And we actually sat there and watched the entire movie. And I'm honestly shocked that they like let us do that. And honestly, I refuse to believe that your dad didn't know how scary that movie was going to be for us to watch.
They were a little reckless. This is a little reckless thing to do. And you know what? I remember literally during, we're going to talk a little bit more about the scenes. During one particular scene with the shower, I was hiding my head behind Mom's back.
I remember that, yes.
I was like, oh my, like, and just so you know, this movie had spawned for the next years to come several horrifying nightmares, dozens and dozens of horrifying nightmares I've had about this movie. It was literally, I don't know. The fact that I became horrifying later on is a little shocking to me because
Like honestly,
trauma.
and you know what? It's because I don't understand it either, because I know I've seen scary movies before that, only because of like how old I was at that point. I might have been like 14, 15 years old. But that movie is definitely like made a mark. Like that was a core memory, was sitting down and watching that movie and then all of us being terrified. And like honestly, I'm not even sure if I dislike clowns before that movie, but I 100% know after we'd be okay without clowns. We'd be fine. Also, really quick, I don't know if you remember this. I was a terrible older sister, but whenever you would piss me off, I put the cover under your bed so that when you went under your bed to grab something, you would see it. Oh my god, it's so bad. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, see, your brain blocked it out. See, I shouldn't have said anything. Ah, okay. So let's get into it. Um, First of all, like when okay, the first time we're introduced to the clown is where that there's a cute little blonde girl with freckles riding her tricycle around the neighborhood, and she like pulls up to the house and her mom is like taking the laundry down and putting it in the basket and going in the house. She's like, "Honey, we have to hurry up. There's a storm coming." And like the mom goes inside to drop off the basket and like the kid just like I guess hears some like, like it's giggling or whatever, and she turns around and like the laundry is still on the lines, the sheets, and she's just like, oh, what's over there, and then of course it pops up in the laundry and is standing there, and he's smiling and he's like, hello little girl, and she's like, oh, a clown. And then like the next scene, which I think honestly anybody who plays like a monster character, they're very good at going from, like, smiling, like, "Ah, ha, ha, ha," to, "I'm about to kill you," and, like, I just remember seeing that was I was just like, "Oh my god." And then, because it's back in the day, they don't really show any of the gory stuff, like, you just know that he snatched up this little girl and did something because the mom comes down and, like, she looks and she just starts, like, screaming, and you're like, "Oh my god, he didn't just snatch up the child, like, he did something to her, like, her body is mutilated."
I think it's kind of interesting because it's to my knowledge that a lot of these, of course, a lot of movies run cable, and there's just certain things that you couldn't show that maybe you can do now on streaming, HBO, all of these things. And it it leads me to wonder um, that sometimes not seeing is sort of a little bit more intense for the imagination. The scare works a little bit when you leave what's occurred to your imagination. Um,
Yes, because you're like, the parent is screaming, you're like, clearly her child's body is there, and it's like and throughout the movie, you never ever see what's happening to the people, but, like, they'll say something like, "Oh, his arm was ripped off." They'll leave these little sprinkles, and you're like, "Oh my god, this thing is, like, mutilating their bodies." And it's also like this honestly, this story is a traumatic story because it's like this thing is going around and killing children. It's a whole other type of, like, horrifying because these are, like, innocent children that are just minding their business, like, they haven't done anything in the world, they haven't really done wrong. You're essentially killing an innocent soul, and in the worst possible way. The hatred that this clown carries in him is so grotesque.
it's I think the addition to it's not just enough to because this is an entity that we don't even know if it really needs to eat. It does it for and f- I don't want to mention too much of the book, but to my knowledge that it need it it sort of gets off on the fear part of it, that it doesn't need to have, right? They don't he didn't need to scare kids before he gobbles them up. It just does. I'm saying he, like it's a he. It's an it. It's not a he or a she or
And it's like, okay, to jump on that, he's it's never gobbling up the entire, but like it's leaving pieces. So it's like, is it even I'm trying to remember from the books like how much of a piece he's actually taking from whoever he's like scared, cuz for the most part like they find all of their body parts. There's usually there's a mention of like
he
a
takes
piece
apart
missing or
a
something.
life. Not. once they're dead, they're dead. There's no pleasure
Yeah,
in that. Takes a bite out of them while they're
while they're
living,
alive. Oh my
and
god.
that is the.
Oh.
But I wanted to maybe talk a little bit more because I mean we know it's a monster, it's an entity, um, but the story really is the focal point or the main part of the story are the kids, right?
Yes.
They are the protagonist of the story, and the monster is a monster.
Mhm.
But you know, this is sort of, I mean, in a weird, twisted way, a coming of age story.
It is though, because like these kids who are completely isolated, they don't necessarily like they do have friends. Like some of them have already like built a friendship with each other, but then there are others that are just like very isolated. Like Beverly, for example, she's the only girl in the group. She grew up like poor. Her dad was the janitor at the school. Like the girls always made fun of her. Like she didn't hang out with the girls because everybody was making fun of her. She was like cast aside. Um Another one, Ben, because he just moves into town and he's like overweight child. And of course, they're making fun of him for his weight. These kids somehow find each other and they create what they call the Losers Club because they're also all individually being bullied by Henry Bowers. Them finding the friendship and clicking with each other and creating that bond is what created the, I don't even know what to call it, the magic that helped them essentially give them the power to defeat this clown monster that's terrorizing this town.
I think also the fact that these individual kids, um, they're called the Losers Club for a reason. Like
Yeah.
they've they've sort of developed the skills to already overcome bullies or other kinds of hardship. And you have Mike, who's dealing. He's in the 50s. You know, this is the 50s. He's a black
He's a
kid.
black kid. Yeah.
He's dealing with racism. So all of these individual kids, like, and Bill has a stutter. So they have found ways to cope with their real life with, and I feel like that is sort of the representation of what this monster is. It's them having to overcome obstacles already in their lives, and them gaining the knowledge and the know-how to overcome those things in their life help them to overcome this beast.
Yes. And then of course the thing that really like catapults the story is the fact that like Bill's little brother is the next child that, oh yeah, and just to mention in the beginning of the story, that girl on the tricycle, her murder happens in 30 years later after they've already, defeated it the first time. So like it kind of like goes back, and then you start seeing everyone's individual story as their kids. And Bill, his little brother is one of the kids that gets murdered by it the first time around. All because he just wanted to have his little paper boat going in the water while the storm was out. It's like he had a huge obstacle to get over. His little brother was murdered, and then immediately it starts coming after him. So like the little thing with the photo album where he's like he's looking at Georgie's photo and then the photo winks at him and then like blood starts dripping out of it. And you're just like, "Oh my God, am I going crazy? Like did I really see that?" And you think it's just trauma. And each kid goes through that where something happens to them individually and they each go, I'm insane. I'm just crazy. Like nobody else is going through this. And that's how it also like isolates everybody, is that everybody it has like a specific thing that he's like poking at. And when you don't really have, even when you do have friends, it's like you don't wanna talk about those type of things because you don't want people to look at you crazy. Bill was the first person to say something where he was just like, "I need to talk to you guys about this because, like, it it's again, once they got together, there was some outside force that was, like, really helping them. Specifically, in the movie, they can't really touch upon it because I feel like there was, like, only so much time, even though it was a miniseries, and they had to really cut a lot out of that book in order to make it, like, TV safe, and also just to get, like, the point across. But there is this, like, force that is helping them, that is giving them, like, the direction to what it is that they need to do, and that was one of them, was Bill coming out and being like, "I need to tell you guys this." Like, for some reason, it feels like it's very important, and then that's when they all, like, collectively started realizing and then telling each other stories like, "Oh, this happened to me," and then that's when they started making the connection. They were like, "Yeah, we've all seen this thing that, they're individually afraid of. At the end of it, there's this clown." And everyone's like, "Whoa, oh, there is something that is, like, targeting us, and it's an entity, it's something that is trying to scare us, and it's probably the reason why all of these kids are dying." Which, by the way, because it has, like, a psychological hold on the entire city, everyone's like, "Oh, it's just, some serial killer that's going around killing kids." Um, Here's the thing about Derry. Every 30 or so plus years, something terrible happens, people start going missing, people start dying. After a while, you would go, "Something's wrong with this town," right? And what I think Stephen King did really well with the story was just, like, he was very good at, like, pinpointing all of the things that were wrong and showing that everybody knew something was wrong, but they didn't have the power to, like, step out of that bad thing. Like, there was something keeping them there. There was something making them, like, not come out and fight whatever this bad thing that's happening.
Would you say it made them complacent with what was going on, or it made them blissfully unaware of what was going on?
I okay, so I wouldn't say blissfully unaware. You could tell that people knew something was wrong, but they just didn't have, I don't wanna say the capacity, they just didn't have the, like, urge to step up and do something about it. Like, it was very, or they would come up with some other like, any other story, like, when a kid tells you, "Oh, there's a monster," you're like, "Oh, sweetie, there's no monster. It's just it's the jacket that's sitting on your chair. They're coming up
Right.
with every reason besides the thing that's clearly wrong." Because, again, in the movie, they didn't touch up on this, but in the book, multiple people have seen this clown.
Sure.
Adults have seen this clown, but no one is coming together and saying, "Hey, you saw that clown over there?" And I think that was when, like, that was a point for the kids to really be like, "Hey, we need to talk about this. Okay, we've all seen clowns," and actually having the conversation and then doing something about it. Whereas, like, everybody else was being tormented by this thing, but nobody was talking about it, because they were also kind of, like, afraid to talk about it. So rewatching this movie, it's it didn't live up to how scary I remember it, but that's because, we live in a day and age where there's CGI for everything. Like, they're showing everything, they're jump scares galore. Um, like, I just wanna say, whoever did the makeup for it, pristine every time. Like, Pennywise the clown was a bad bitch, okay? Every time I saw him in a scene, I was like, "Bro, matted up, completely flawless, hair flawless." Even when they were showing, like, raining scenes, flawless. He was serving face. We didn't
Oh
like his
my
face,
God.
but he was serving it, okay? Anyways, I wanted to get that out of the way. Whoever did that, amazing. Makeup team, you did great a job. Um, all right, I feel like I've been talking forever. You go. What do you have?
Well, you watched the movie more recently. I haven't seen this movie in quite a few years, but I've seen it quite a few times. And yeah, I mean the it's always scarier when you're a kid. I've watched it as an adult and I'm like, oh yeah, I could see why as a kid I was terrified of this movie, but as an adult, not so much.
Yes, but even so, that was what was available back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, with what they had, they did a very good job. Because let me tell you, like I watched it like 2 days ago and it was like, okay, no, I can like enjoy this now without like being scared. But
Right.
there was still certain scenes that I was like, yo, that's fucking creepy. But what I really do love about this story is the fact that he is a clown, right? Because he is he's showing himself as something that should be fun. It should put you at ease. You should have a smile on your face. He's there to entertain the kids, you know? He's supposed to be he's dressed as a positive figure, right? But then you see this positive figure and then like something in the back of your head is like something is wrong. It's how he gets you, and then he uses the fact that he is a clown to do all these, like, these funny things. Like, he's cracking all these jokes. Like, I think you told me one of your favorite scenes is, like, when he's pretending to be Beverly and Ben, is, like they're, like, making out, and then all of a sudden he looks in the mirror and he, like, looks down and he sees clown pants on Beverly. And then he pulls back and you see it. Okay, this was the only time that his makeup was messed up, but that was because he was making out with Ben.
You know what? When they're kids, this clown is so scary. When they're adults, he is absolutely
He's
hilarious.
messing with them the entire time. Cause he knows he can't, it's not the same type of fear. Like fear in kids is it's way more potent. It's
Yeah.
because they're so innocent, they get so scared. Like they're completely terrified with their entire being.
And they're scared, and they tend to be scared of things that, like, Richie's afraid of werewolves. I mean, of course, an adult would not be afraid of werewolves because they know werewolves don't exist. So it's much easier, and I think that's another thing with it's much easier to scare children than it
Because you
is to
can
scare
use
adults. Because you
yes,
can,
because
and it's easier, it's less, it
it's
just,
less
yeah,
work.
it's less work because kids will get scared over anything. Um, and you see that because when they're adults, it tries to enlist the help of a bully, of a former bully to like take them out. So you can see like there's a little bit of powerlessness, I would say, when it comes to adults, which is why it doesn't go after adults. Um,
Not that it won't
uh,
go after adults. It
yeah,
will go after them if it can and if it has the opportunity, but
yeah.
his main focus is the children. And it's like and that's why I love that difference so much is because like, he's a clown, he's terrifying these little kids, and, like, you don't necessarily like, yes, he's kind of, like, cracking jokes when they're kids, but it definitely happens more as they're adults. Like, I'm sorry, the fact that he was making out with Ben, pretending to be Beverly, and then, like, he pulls him and he was like, "Kiss me, fat boy." You're like, "Dang, I should be scared," but that was kinda funny.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
Or, like, when Richie is older and he comes to the library to run into Mike, and, it is there. and he's literally just like he has like I don't know what they're called, but the thing that makes
The
noise,
ways
and
when you
he's like in
spin
the
it.
library, he's like making noise, and like
A
Richie's like trying to
noisemaker.
talk to someone.
I think it's
Is that
literally
what it's
called
called?
that
It's
noise.
literally called a
I think
noisemaker.
it's literally called a noisemaker, yeah.
And like, he's like trying to distract Richie. And mind you, he's in a library. So like Richie's trying to be quiet and it is just like yelling at the top of its lungs. It's using the noisemaker, it's popping balloons left and right. And he like walks up to the woman to be like, hey, when you see Mike, tell him I was here and like I'll meet up with him later.
And
But
it's
of
daddy home.
course, because he's hearing it and nobody else is, he's like trying to compensate for the fact that there's so much noise happening that he's like yelling at the woman, "Hey, can you tell Mike?" And everyone's like, "Yo, what is wrong with this guy?" Like
And
the
the thing
lady
is,
even looked at him like, "Okay."
hmm, and the thing is, like, their demeanor, like, they seem less afraid and like more just annoyed at that point. Like they're just kind of like, what is this clown doing?
Yes. Well, okay. So yes, there are kind of points like that, but they're definitely still afraid. So here's one of the biggest things is that because it has power over Derry. After they went into the sewers and defeated it the first time, life goes on, they get older, they move out, they like, they left the town, they moved around the country. And like once they left, they like completely forgot what happened. It was like nothing happened. And the only one that stays behind is Mike because he feels like he has the obligation to stay there to make sure that it doesn't come back, right? So, um after the little girl with the tricycle gets murdered, he runs into a photo of Georgie, and Georgie is the little kid, is Bill's little brother that passed.
Right.
And then that was his sign cuz like a couple of kids have gone missing at this point and he was just like I can't ring the alarm until I fully make sure that it is the creature that came back and it's not just some psycho that's going around killing kids. And he finds this photo of Georgie and he's like, this is the sign. Like, there's no way this photo from 30 years ago is all of a sudden on the same block where this little girl got murdered. Right. And that's when he starts calling everybody. And he's calling everyone like individually. And we get to see them individually as adults where they are at this point. Bill was the first one. He's like, hey, Bill, it's Mike, it's Mike. And he's like, what? Mike who? And then he says the name and all of a sudden you just see like Bill, like he comes to a realization like, oh my God, Mike, I didn't know who you were. And he's like, yeah, you forgot everything, right? And the thing is like none of them remembered what happened. It took Mike calling them to be like, hey, remember me from your childhood? And that would jog their memory. And so now, as adults, they've completely forgotten about what happened to them. And now, almost in a rush, they're getting these really terrifying memories of what happened when they were kids. And it's like, it's a shock because it's like, how did I forget that this happened? Um, and like as they're all coming together and they meet back up in Derry, they still don't fully remember everything. Like everything is coming back to them in little snippets, like certain words are triggering something. And it's like one, we went through this. Two, it was real. It was horrifying. This creature that we had to go that's ripping up children is back, and now we have to go back to Derry as adults to go fight this thing. The one that was really creepy was Beverly, when Beverly went to um her childhood home to see if her dad was there, which by the way, Beverly had a very abusive father. Um and they kept it out of this movie, but he was kind of also he was a PDF file
Yeah.
in a way. Like he hadn't like touched his daughter yet, I feel, but there was definitely some like nuances of daddy likes Beverly a little too much. Um but she, like, goes to visit him, and she sees his name on the door, and she pushes the button, and somebody else answers, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I thought it said, Marsh, her last name." And the lady's like, "Oh, no, your dad's been dead for a while." And she's like, "Come in, have a cup of tea. You relax for a little bit. We could talk." And she goes in, and she's talking with this lady, and the lady brings her tea, and things just start kinda going left a little bit. The old lady's teeth is weird. She says something a little off cuff, and then Beverly looks into the tea, and it's a teacup, it's filled with blood, and she's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And then the lady looks up, and she's, like, emaciated, and you're like, "Fuck." Beverly runs out of the house, and of course, it is at the door like, "Hey, Beverly." And she's like, "No, you're not real, you're not real." And, she turns back around and it's not there, and, like, the building that she was just in that looked like a fully
Dilapidated.
renovated was like, boarded up, like, nobody had lived there, like, it's condemned, and you look at it and you're like, "Was I really just in that house just now?"
That is terrifying that
That is
something can make you see
terrifying.
something that's not there. Yeah, create a complete illusion.
So, honestly, out of I think out of everybody who got scared who got, like, visited by it when they came back as an adult, I think Beverly probably, like, hers was, like, top tier
It
terrifying.
But one thing that was interesting is, um, it was scaring them not to kill them. It was scaring them to get them to leave.
Because he knew if they stayed, that they could do some damage, and he knew he only had so much power over them because they're adults. But yeah, literally the entire time he was like, it's your last chance to turn back. Turn back now, or you will all die." Um, but it was like it's like, how many times you gonna threaten me?
But that's the thing too, like, you think it would wanna get its revenge and not try to get them to leave. But it was really just trying to get them to leave, like, it wasn't looking for revenge, it was trying to scare them off, which is interesting.
Because them kids got his ass the first time. He
They know
really
how to do what to do. They know
exactly,
the ritual,
exactly.
they know.
The That's the crazy it's like, the movie is so surface level. Like, even how each kid had, like, a kind of power in a way. Like, Beverly's was the thing that she was a sure shot. There was a scene where they're, like, practicing, like, 'cause, they can't really get guns because 'cause they're children, so they're like, "What do we have as a weapon?" And it's a slingshot, and they're like, "Okay, we all gotta practice and see who's the better slingshot. Somebody has to be the one to do it." So then, of course, everybody goes, I think except, Ben. Beverly takes it, and they have, like, probably, like, 10 bottles and cans, like, up. Beverly hits every single one, and they're like, "Well, Beverly, you're the one who's got you're the one with the aim, okay? So you're gonna be the one to take the shot." And another one was, Eddie. Eddie had, like they kind of, like in the movie, there are definitely things where Eddie'd be like, "Oh, it's this way," and you'd be like, "Why does Eddie know that? Why does Eddie know the direction they're supposed to be going in?" It's because Eddie has he's supposed to have, like, he's basically the Google Maps for it. He's like, once we're down like, he's down in the sewer, and he's just like, "I know exactly where we're supposed to go." And I forget what everybody Bills was the leader, he was the one to, like, keep everybody together and make sure they didn't, like, break ranks if something happened. Um, Richie, of course, was, like I don't wanna say because he was way more important than just, like, the comedic relief. Like, he was the comedic relief, but his job was to, like, when people were freaking out, was to, like, say something to, like, snap them out of it and, like, make them laugh and bring them back into, like, a positive move so that they didn't completely fall into despair. Can't remember what Stan or Mike's was or Ben, but I know they all had, like, a part to play within the 7 of them, which is another thing. There were 7. That was like a lucky number, and Mike was the one to solidify the number 7 for them because of the way they, like, ran into each other. He was, like, running away from Eddie Bowers, and he runs into them at the Barrens, or not even at the Barrens. It's kind of like a it wasn't a dump, but it had, like, a lot of rocks for some reason, and, they're all together, and, like, that's when they decide to take a stand against Henry Bowers. They're kind of just like, "No, this ends here. You're not, like, you're not coming after us, and you're not coming after Mike." And they get into this, like, huge rock fight, um, and basically take down Henry Bowers and his gang of fools. And that's when they really all come together, and they realize their power as a group. Girl, what was I talking? What was the point?
I think we're talking so much about the story, but um, what did you think of the actors, um, children and adults, and of course Tim Curry, who was like crazy.
Tim Curry was just like he had fun with the role, you know?
Yeah, he
It
acted like a clown. And just to reference a little bit of the book, I know in the book the clown wasn't very clowny.
No.
Like, yeah, it
It
was
was definitely it was
terrifying.
yes, yes. In yeah. But I feel like that was something that they, like, definitely added later, was just like, "Look, this guy's a clown. Let's add a little bit." And honestly, that probably helped with filling in the gaps, all the gaps that they, like, had to take out because they couldn't show it on TV. Tim Curry was great. It was just like you just love those moments where, like, again, to go back with, like, the shower scene where this creature comes out and it's a clown and he's like, "Hey, Eddie." And he would have these moments where he would just, like, be, chill, blah, 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 and then put his hand on his head and just be talking and smiling, and then he'd be like, and then all of a sudden he'd be like, "They all float," and then would go into this monstrous, and you're like, "What the fuck?" Tim Curry did a great job. Like, for the time, that was a
It
great
was
scary
camp.
movie.
It was camp, but it was good camp.
Yes.
It was good camp.
Yes.
It wasn't bad camp.
As for the honestly, it's so interesting to watch old movies because, like, the way everybody, aside from, like, how they film and how they write things, also how people act back in the day was very, very different. Um, but I think they all did a good job. Like, honestly, any kid that goes into acting and can do that and, like, have a character, it's honestly, like, it blows my mind.
I think the kids, because I mean, I don't know, child actors get sometimes they get a lot of flack, you know. These kids, I think, had really great chemistry, which I feel chemistry is very hard to do. Um, and you're talking about these kids that like are going through something horrifying and traumatic together. They nailed the chemistry. It didn't look like you just threw a bunch of people in a scene and said, "Okay, act." They felt like friends. They
Yeah.
felt like they were overcoming something horrifying and they built a friendship around that. And I thought that was like, I mean, we'll talk about the newer version, but
At a later date.
this movie I think got that very well. And they also got the transition between them to adults. I th- and they still felt like those were the kids, and they still
Yes.
had that chemistry. It, so they did a great job with the casting.
Yes.
Everybody was casted really well.
To come up with 2 groups of people, kids and adults, that had really good chemistry, that could sell these characters. The kid who played Bill as a child, like, with the stuttering, like, that adds a whole extra element to the fact that you're acting because now he has to like fake a stutter but make it sound real. They did a phenomenal job with this movie. Like I watch it and I'm like, yes, I'm no longer scared of it anymore because like I'm older and my mind has expanded to like what scary can be when you're watching something.
Mhm.
But like as a like it definitely goes down for me as like a classic that I would keep in my back pocket if I wanted to just like have a little nostalgia about a scary monster clown.
Also, I think stories that involve children are always going to feel like I always say, like the children half of it is much more terrifying than the adult half of it. Stories that involve kids are always just going to be, for me, scarier, more horrifying because obviously, like that is when it comes to kids, and it's just like a line everybody agrees you don't cross. Like you don't hurt kids, you don't hurt children. Um, but and that's what and then you're detailing gruesome things happening to young kids. It's um yeah,
And
but
it the crazy thing is like I did a little research and cuz like when you think about this story, it's such a messed up story that you're like, how did somebody come up with this? Like anytime there's a story where like children things are happening to kids and not in like a, oh, this is like a everyday life, kind of thing. You're kind of like, bro, where was your head out? Apparently, Stephen King was going through some shit when he wrote this book. Apparently, like in the middle of writing this book, his family had like an intervention. Like he had a severe drinking problem and he was like going through it mentally. And it's like to know that and then read the story and be like, oh, we're reading this while you were in a really dark place. Like your mind went into, because we'll talk about it later, but the book goes into things that you're just like, should I even be reading this? I remember the first time I picked up it, I was in high school and I was like, oh, because I was so excited. I was like, oh, we watched the movie. Let me read what the book is about. Because let's be honest, the book is always better. It always has way more information, the world building and everything. G- Girl, I got like not even halfway, and I put that book down and was just like, I can't do this. I'm not. I'll put that book down 4 years and did not pick it up until like, what was that, last year? A little less than last year. Finally picked up the book and reread it and was just like, reread to the point where I left off and then was like, I gotta fight through it. I gotta finish it. I can't just I can't just not finish the book again. I forced myself to read that book. It's oh gosh, it's so messed up.
what so I guess we could talk a little bit about we liked the acting. We thought that the chemistry was so good. Um, what did we not like about this movie?
What did we not like about this movie?
I feel like it as a horror film, it doesn't age that well.
No.
As a horror, and when you're watching it as a kid, it's the most terrifying thing ever. But in the grand scheme of what's really horror. The book, 10 out of 1,000 out of 10. This movie, no,
No.
it doesn't.
They had like and the crazy thing is, okay, so the book was published in 1986.
Mm.
The miniseries came out in 1990. So it's like, how long did they even like when did they start filming? Right? And then the thing is this book comes out and then you're like, "Oh my God, let's come out with a TV series." And like I'm pretty sure the writers who had to help adapt it for TV was like, "How am I gonna do this with all the crap that happens in here?" Like, how did somebody read that and go, "Yeah, let's come out with a TV series and put it on and make it TV 14."
Yeah.
'Cause, like, what, the new movies came out and they're, like, rated R.
The new
Like,
movies.
they how do you take this book and turn it into not even a like, family friendly isn't what I'm looking for, but something that's able to be digested by people clicking on their TV and watching this.
Yeah, and why would like why what made you think this is the book we should try to adapt to television? Like, what you would read this and say, "Yeah, let's do this." Like, I think there's a lot of other Stephen King books and stuff that they adapted to movies and they did great by it, like Misery for one, and of course that movie was like iconic. The book's iconic. But what would made you read this particular book and say,
And
"Let's make
go,
it,"
"Let's put this on TV."
and then not really do it justice, not really do the story justice, not really do the horror elements very, justice. Um, and to this day, I don't think there was an actual, because I have read the book a very, very long time ago, and I don't think I finished it, but I do remember very strong select parts of those.
There were definitely things in that book that will stay with me forever. There's no un you can't even say unseeing, there's no unreading that.
This no adaptation properly adapted this book. Um,
I'm gonna
I
be
would
honest with you, I saw the first part of the new I did not watch the second because
it
the first
is
part scared the like,
horrible.
it scared I was like it came out and I was like, "Oh, yeah, 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 let's sit down and watch it," and, like, halfway through, I was like, "Why did I sit down and watch this?" I was like,
Um,
why am I doing this to myself?"
the first part I think gets quite a few things, I think, by the book, gets a few things better than the miniseries. Because it can do more now. It can do more with CGI. It's actually trying to be horrifying,
Yes, and they
not
made
like the
sure
miniseries that was supposed to
that
be for
was like,
TV.
"Let's put it for TV," but this one, they were like, "No, we're gonna make it so that, only adults can watch this movie. This is a rated R film. Yes, there's children in it, but this is what the story was meant to be. It's meant to be horror and not something that you can put on television like that and not have, like, a bunch of asterisks on it."
I think the movies, I mean, they miss a core, I think, maybe psychological element that was present in the book that is not present in the movies. It it misses the real effect of what this entity had on the town, I think. Like you don't feel it so much, and I feel like it was sort of a missed opportunity to show that part of it, like the effect that it had on the town, because you're probably watching this movie and thinking, how are all of these things happening and nobody cares.
Nobody's
Like
privy to it, every
how can you as a parent let your, like, I don't know, 6-year-old son run around the streets by himself in a boat with the boat in the rain? Like most parents would say, you're not doing that.
but you have to remember that this is the '50s.
That's true. That's true.
Back when, like, kids were running around up and down doing whatever, they were like, "Yeah, as long as you're out the house." They're like, "Yeah, go out the house, go run around, go do whatever you're
Yeah,
doing."
that's true.
Because,
That
like,
yeah.
they weren't worried about, like, serial killers at that point, you know?
But at
They
that
weren't
point, though, kids have already been going missing. And I think that's established in the beginning of the movie is that
Mhm.
that thing, like, they're showing you that kids are going missing. Any parent would not let their kid run around on the street while kids are going missing.
Well,
Um,
yes, because by the time that little girl gets murdered, she's like the 6th victim or something, and she was just riding around on her tricycle around the neighborhood, and you're like and then she dies, and you're thinking, "Oh, this is the 1st murder," and, everyone's freaking out, and it's like, "No, no, 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 she was the 5th or 6th one in this
yeah.
town."
So there's, like, things that I feel like maybe could be a little bit more like, you're these kids are walking they're in they're going to the sewers, and
The bear
do
yeah.
do these parents even know where their kids are? Like, you where are your kids? There's a cycle running around. Where are your kids? Where are your kids? So, to me, it's something's as a viewer, something's wrong when the adults are just absent.
Yes, but it's not as I feel like it's not as blatant in the movies where you're like you kinda, like, go with the flow and you're like, "Well, I mean, I guess the kids kinda still have to, go around and hang out and do their thing and whatnot." But it's also like you miss the opportunity of because I think in this first one, I think they don't really mention it until like Beverly is like, I got home and Henry Bowers and his gang were waiting for me. And they were literally like messing with her the entire time. And she was just like, and I saw my neighbor across the street and he saw what was happening. And she was like, I was hoping he was gonna like yell at them or come over and tell them to stop or whatever. And he just like looked at me and shook his head and then just walked into the house and didn't do anything. And I think that was the only time that they really solidified that, like, something is wrong with the town as a whole because none of these adults are helping us. They're turning the other way. Like, in any other, situation, like, if you saw that happening, especially to a little girl, you see a group of guys ganging up on a little girl, I feel like any person would be like, "Hey, it's a neighbor, it's not even like you don't know this person. Even if you don't wanna get into, like, a fist fight with these kids, like, "Hey, what's going on? Get away. Like, I'm gonna call the cops," like, something. And to just turn away and leave a little girl helpless with this group of guys is just like, what do you think? What is going on?
And, I feel like it also plays into, like, as a kid, things happen to you, and sometimes you feel like you're alone, and, like, people are not paying attention. Teachers are not paying kids get bullied, teachers, staff, they're not paying attention. Other adults are not paying attention, they're minding their own business. So, even sometimes as a kid, you feel unprotected. You feel unseen, you feel unprotected. Um, so it's like it's really a story about the horrors of being a kid, sort of being a child,
Being a
being a
child
ch-
in a
being a child, maybe being unconventional, not popular, not this, being sort of ignored. Um, and I think those elements in the movie, they could have captured the real terrifying reality sometimes of being a kid, um, and being helpless, right?
Mhm.
And things happening to you, and you're never gonna say anything because you're a kid, nobody's ever gonna believe you. Because at the end of the day, the story is it's not just about the scary monster, it's about the
Mhm.
realities of being a child. And I feel like they could have It could have been more psychological. It could have gotten really into like you're a kid that now has to fend for yourself. You have to grow up way before you're ready to grow up and put
Because you
yourself
have
in it.
to.
Because you have to, you have no
You have
option, you have no
no
choice.
option, but
What, like these kids, what are they gonna do? No adult's gonna believe them. They have to grow up way before they're ready to, in order to protect themselves. And then you think about that as an adult, like, it's not even just, oh, they just forgot. They, that's what a lot of adults do. Like what do you call it? You suffer trauma as a kid.
mhm.
You block it out. There's things that happen to you as a kid that maybe later on you're like, oh, wow, that really did. Somebody brings something up. You're like, wait, that happened?
Yeah.
And you don't even remember that because you were so traumatized that you forgot about it. Like there was a mechanism in your head that said, this thing needs to get out of your brain because it's
Yes.
gonna kill you, it's gonna destroy you. And like that is like I think where the real main part of this book is. Like it's it's a monster, but it's not really about a monster. It's about
Mhm.
overcoming childhood trauma.
Yep. And I love how they like play into that because that is very true. When you become an adult, you forget about a lot of the stuff that you went through.
Mm,
But that was something that they played into because like that was one of its powers is that once you left its area of trauma, it it slowly just started taking away the memories because another thing is that like you want it wants to contain what is going on in Derry. If anything gets out, you're gonna have like national newspapers, you're gonna have people flying in, be like, oh, there's something happening in Derry. Like it's gonna be a larger issue on its hands if if people are coming from the outside and coming in and then going back out and spreading this information,
mm,
right? That was one thing that they touch up on the books is that like well, just in general, you're in this town, all this shit is happening, right? Kids are going missing every so often. Like people are being mutilated, things are blowing up. How has there not been national news coverage on this? Why are they not sending in FBI into this town, right? And one of the main things is because it is using its influence on the town to keep the information within the town. So everyone that moves out of this town, they lose one, any horrific memories that they had there, and just the general like uneasiness. They're kind of like, "Oh, yeah, oh, no, I don't understand why I never like, why I felt that way," or it's like they genuinely forget what happens once they leave the town boundaries, and you're like, "That's the reason why this thing has been thriving for so long." It's this all-powerful being that, like, we don't necessarily. I mean, in this movie, we don't know how old this thing is or what it is or where it came from. We just know that it has the power to do this, which again, they didn't really cover that in the movie at all because like again, I feel like there was so much to touch up on. There were so many things that they had to remove from the story in order to make it okay for TV, that there were just so many things that were just like completely lost.
I'm of the belief that where the entity comes from doesn't really matter to the story. Well,
Mhm.
I'm okay with the fact that they left that out
Yeah.
because the story is still about the kids,
Yeah.
not so much about the monster. Um, so to me, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, because like also part of the book is that there is something helping them. There's
Mhm.
something that gives, we're going into the book again, gives Bill a vision of what they need to do. I believe that that's
Yeah.
how it goes in the book. So, is it important to know what's helping them? Because of course, the movie didn't go into that either. How did these kids know what to do,
Mhm.
you know?
Like, there was definitely one thing that they touched upon, what, like, instead of talking about this, like, this power that was helping them and pointing them in the right direction,
Yeah.
it was more like it focused more on, like, their belief. As long as you believed in something, it would it would be true. So, like, when, they decided the silver was gonna be the thing that could kill it, because they put the belief in, they were like, "Well, silver is supposed to kill monsters, it kills werewolves, it's supposed to," So it's not just the fact that they, like, maybe, yes, the silver, like, would have worked anyway, but the fact that they believed the silver would kill it is what also helped. Like, when Eddie uses his
Inhaler.
asthma in, like, his inhaler and goes, "It's battery acid," and, like, sprays him in the face, and it reacts to it as if he just got sprayed with battery acid. So it was basically like it was using its power against him, because it's making these kids believe that these monsters are around to make them fear, but then they're taking the belief and turning it into a positive and then using that against
Which is
it to help.
not how it works in the story, in the book,
Honestly, I
right?
literally have to, I'm telling you, every time I read or watch something traumatizing, like, my brain holds on to, like, the most traumatic parts and then lets everything else go. Like, I read that book and I could tell you all the pieces that scared the crap out of me that will stay with me, but when it comes to, like, the minor details, my brain's like, "Meh."
I think in the book, it becomes sort of a battle of will, and they get taken into a different, like,
Yes.
different
What is it?
mental.
The something of Chud?
Yeah, the ritual, yeah.
Yes. And, yeah, it's like it's more of a, like, it's more of like a psychological fight with it versus, like, them actually, like, beating up on it, which is what they did in the movie, is that they knocked it over and started kicking it in the deadlights, and
Mm.
that's what, and then, oh my god, this part was, to me, was just like they pulled the heart out and they're all, like, holding it.
Yeah, that was a little ridiculous. That was a little ridiculous. And that's the thing, like, it that's that so going back to my main gripe with the movie is it didn't wanna get psychological enough. They just made it a monster hunting fight at the end of it, like, "We're just gonna kill this monster with." It's not about the monster, it's about overcoming the fear. Like, a mental battle of will makes sense in the context of what the story is about.
Mhm.
Um, Overcoming your fear that is not real, you know?
Yeah. It's not a physical
It's
thing.
not a physical, yeah, you have to, I mean, we all have fears, obviously, I mean, um, but overcoming those things with, I don't know, through friendship, through sheer will, through, and then
Yeah.
and not a monster, not necessarily now we're gonna go hunt this. I mean, they did go monster hunting.
Yes, but
It's not like
still,
they
the fight
didn't do
ended
that,
up
but
being, like, because they had to go find it to in its territory to
yeah, and
then
like physically, like, and I hate to bring this up, but we'll talk about the new movies because they took the whole monster hunting thing to a whole new level, and
I did not even see the second part, so I'm gonna be watching the second part for the first time.
it was so dumb, so dumb, disappointing. Whatever goodwill that first part built, the
Yeah,
second
it just
one destroyed.
disintegrated.
I was like, "What are you guys doing? Like, who directed this? Why did you do this?" The whole oof, oof. I'm gonna have stuff to say, and I've only seen it once. I've only seen it once,
And look,
and I
and
can
you're already
recall
upset.
everything that I hated about it.
With this movie, like, by the end of it, it was definitely first of all, this movie was, like, 3 hours long because it was a mini series that they, like, clumped together and
Eh,
put it out on VHS. So, like, when I went to click to watch it, I was like, "This is how long this movie is?" I was like, "We literally sat down for almost 3 hours to watch this?"
did we watch the whole thing?
We
Oh,
did. We did. I mean, I did. I don't know if y'all probably tapped out and were like, "Nah, I'm not doing this." But, like, it as long as it was, like, by the time they defeated the creature, I was kinda like, "That happened a little too easy." Like, when they were adults going back into the sewer, that didn't take as long
and
as I thought it was going
and then it's
to.
just a spider thing, mutant alien thing. I'm like, "This isn't
I
fun."
mean, okay, that part they did get right. It was supposed to be a spider, and by the way, um, e they call it, but the being itself is female in the sense that it like, in the book, they talk about it, is that it has to lay eggs to to create more entities like it to spread around.
Here's the thing, though. This thing's existed for so long. Where are these other entities? They exist in other towns?
Did we just who knows, you know? Because in Stephen King's world, like, everything is, like, tied to each other, like, all of his I don't wanna say every single one, but most of them are all within, like, the same universe, and all of these things are happening in different towns, but, I can't confirm if they have anything to do with this specific entity. Because I do know that, like, in the books, like, sometimes, like, Derry will get mentioned, or some other town in another book will get mentioned where something is happening. And it's never anything that goes into, like, a deep dive as to what's going on. When they go back as adults to defeat it, it's carrying eggs on its back that are supposed to hatch soon, and that's another part of the battle, in the book at least, is that they're now like, "Oh, we have to make sure we kill this thing, but we also gotta make sure to, like, we gotta destroy all the eggs. We can't let
Yeah.
these things birth into the world."
Oh, I'm just randomly throwing this point out. In the miniseries, they do reference the turtle and as a little figurine on in one of the scenes. There's like a little figurine of a turtle. Is that in
I didn't notice that.
is that in the miniseries or isn't that in the newer?
It might be in the book because if they did reference it in the miniseries, they didn't give it its own, like,
No.
scene. Like, there was never a scene where you're looking at, like, a desk or something and there's, like, a random turtle from what I remember.
It's one of the scenes. I don't remember which movie it's in, but yeah, like showing that the turtle's there watching. It was a scene with Bill.
That had to have been the new movie because
Ah, okay. Then it's probably the new
I don't
movie.
remember anything about it, and I doubt that they cared back then to reference the turtle. They watered it down so much that they were like, "What turtle?" We kinda talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, what they, like, should have done,
Mm.
um, on a scale of on a scale of 1 to 10, how scary was it?
Are we talking about is a 7-year-old Soren?
S
Are we
I
talking about
think see,
almost 30-year-old
that's what
Soren?
we need to put that into perspective. Okay, so child us, I I would have given it, like, an 8 or 9
10, 10 out of 10 for me. This
for
was
you because
the
you guys
bane
were
of my
so much
existence.
younger. You were so much younger when we watched
This
it.
I actually watched it again when we still lived in that same house. And I watched it again
By
and
yourself? I don't remember us
by
watching it
myself.
again.
No, by
Oh,
myself. It was on
Jesus.
TV.
I'm
Like
proud of you.
that T yeah, the TV that was on top of the dresser in
Yeah,
mom and dad's room.
yeah.
I watched it again, and I wasn't that scared the second time around.
I also feel like that happens though. Like it's really hard for a horror movie to scare you the second time because you kind of already know what's gonna happen. It takes that surprise element out of it. Once you watch it again and it becomes like repetitive, it's also like it solidifies in your mind like, okay, this isn't real.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, but like adult me, scare factor, 1. Like it wasn't scary.
Yeah, I've seen it again as an adult, and I'm like,
It's just it's
it's very
entertaining to
camp.
watch now.
It's
It's
very
very
camp.
it
It's very camp movie. Yeah, it's not scary.
Okay, and then the other one, okay, was it worth watching? I thoroughly enjoy the movie. Like, I sat down and was just like, "Okay, yeah,
It's
no,
just it's
I do like this
entertaining.
movie.
No, yeah.
I could
Tim
watch this
Curry is
again."
always entertaining. Yeah, just it
Yes.
was always entertaining.
It's like, at this point in your life, if you haven't watched it, it's like you're not missing anything if you don't, but if you wanna watch, like, a classic and just get a look at how it existed before it evolved into these newer things, then I say yes. Like, I feel like we watch old movies all the time. Like, I think we still need to give, like
Give it its flowers, its
yeah,
props.
it's flowers for what it did for, at the time. I feel like a lot of people get, like we're so desensitized now because of how much that, like, TV can do that whenever we watch old things, we're like, "Oh, this is crap." And it's like, "No, it's not. It's just what" like, I'm sure in 10 years, when we watch all the movies that came out, like, you kinda have to, like, look at things for what it was and when it came out and appreciate that.
Yeah,
And that's what this movie is for me, is like I could watch it and just, like, appreciate what they tried to do with what they had,
yeah.
and, it's to me, it's still an entertaining movie. Honestly, if kids saw it today actually, no, I'm not even gonna say that. If kids I'm sure there are still kids that would see that and probably still be scared.
I would not show that movie to little kids.
No.
No way, no how.
Mm-mm.
No, 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 no.
What was our favorite I feel like we kind of already talked about what was your favorite thing about it, and what was your least favorite thing about it?
Yeah, I already said my piece on what my least favorite thing about it was. Yeah. I mean, for a little short series, it did its thing. That was my main gripe with the movie, to be honest. I don't
Um
care if movies leave out specific kinds of lore.
It's like
Um,
as long as the story continues, it's not like
yeah,
it didn't deter the story at all.
yeah, it didn't take away from what the story was
Yeah,
about.
yeah, especially because Stephen King likes to go in really deep into things, and it's like, I probably didn't need to know that, but I see where you were going.
Yeah,
Um,
pages and pages and sometimes this stuff's hard to get through. I'm like, you didn't need to put all this in.
no,
This
for
is
real,
boring back filler story.
when I tell people that I like Stephen King books, they're like, "Oh my god, how do you do it?" And I'm like, "You just need to get through the first quarter of the book,
Yeah, like
and
it's like
then
a
stuff start
thousand
and
pages.
then"
I'm like, this is an easy 500,
Yeah,
600 pages.
dude, it's a chunk of a book. A chunk.
It's a thousand something pages. Yeah, I'm like, but you didn't need to add this. You didn't need to do this. You're going off on weird things. This is not part. This
A bunch
is
of side quests in the book.
yeah, side
Um,
quests.
okay, so for me, my favorite thing rewatching it is what I talked about earlier. Like, the thing that I enjoyed the most, hands down, in this movie was seeing Tim Curry in this clown makeup and him being pristine in every single take. Like, I was in awe. 'Cause it was like after like the 3rd or 4th time of seeing him and being like, "Bruh, like you look perfect."
It exists outside of the realm of physics and reality. So
Yes, and I thought that was a beautiful, like, and that's the thing, I don't know if it was something that if they did that on purpose, or if it was just, like, it was easier to keep him pristine so that they didn't have to worry about, like, continuity, when it came to things happening, but, like, you know, when it was raining, like, when he was in the sewer and there's, like, water dripping down, pristine, not a drop of water on him, and oh, you know what? That was one thing that I forgot, is that they didn't put this scene in the movie where, like, when Ben first sees Pennywise in the book, it's snowing outside,
I
and
remember this what part of the book.
the like, I think I'm mixing it up. It's either the wind is blowing or the wind isn't blowing,
It's blowing, but the balloon
but
is
the
moving
balloons are
in the wrong
in the
direction.
wrong direction of the
That is
wind.
th that visual is horrifying. The book just the visuals that it gives you is terrifying.
And they tried to do it because in this movie, when Ben sees it for the first time, it's over by the Barrens, like where the building where the sewer
Right.
is, and his dad is standing on top of the lake,
Mhm.
right? Which shouldn't be feasible. And you know, his dad is talking to him, and then he like looks down at the reflection and sees the reflection of the clown, and then looks up and it's the clown. There's no wind blowing. The trees are still, right? But the balloons the clown is holding is moving in the wind. And I was just like, when I rewatched it, I was like, I get it. And I didn't catch it the first time when we watched it as kids, but then seeing it and being like, seeing the whole scene and being like, there's no wind blowing right now. But yet somehow these balloons are dancing. And it was just like, I'm happy that they at least like put that in there to show that he had that power outside of like physics. Um but yeah, no, my favorite thing is still the fact that like he was pristine in every single scene. Every
Making
single
out what
scene.
was the point in dressing up like Beverly and making out? I was like, "What? You were trying to
To
get free?
mess to
What was
mess
the"
with to mess with Ben.
Didn't even
Simply
take
to
the
mess
time
with
to
Ben.
kill the they're not even trying to kill them at this point. He's like,
No.
"Let me get my"
He's literally coming into and the crazy thing is like when they're adults, that is the only time he fully okay, besides when he like grabs Stan down in the sewer and is like you know, about to eat his face off and show him the deadlights. That is the first time you really see it come into that much contact with somebody. Like it was like the first time ever seeing that, you're thinking, "Oh shit, he's about to kill Ben." 'Cause, like, you're literally holding me, you're touching me, you're making out with me. I was like, "He's gonna eat his face off," and then he just disappears, and you're like, "Oh, okay, never mind, I guess."
That's the thing, like, you have so much that's another thing that sorta takes me out of the full thing. You have so much opportunity to just kill them, like, you have unimaginable power. Why not just kill them and move on? You weren't even trying to hurt them. You were trying to so it makes me think the powers are limited against but no, but we've seen it kill adults before.
Yes,
Um,
but not in this movie, particularly in the books. He's not he's not the one killing the adults. He is causing these massive this massive like ruckus that is causing the adults to then fight each other and kill each other. So
it
it
does
probably is
kill, eat, and
something.
eat a gay guy in the book, doesn't it?
Yes, he does. So then why didn't I don't know, maybe it had to do with the kids having that power helping him because why didn't he just kill them?
Yeah, you want to make out with Ben? You just making out with people? Sure. What the heck?
Oh, okay.
Didn't say, oh, let me just kill this guy. Where let me know. Let me just, pucker up.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
wh- come on.
He just woke up. He was trying to get a little freaky. He's been dealing with children all this time. Okay, but before we go off on a whole other tangent, Um, that is our first episode. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Sorry if it was chaotic. We are trying to figure out how we're doing this, but yeah, thank you so much, and we will see you at the next one. I hope you enjoyed this midnight meeting. Bye.